If you're watching this right now, stop scrolling because what I'm about to tell you will haunt you long after this video ends. Imagine looking someone in the eyes and knowing, without a doubt, that they've committed unspeakable crimes, yet everyone around you treats them like a saint. That's exactly what happened to me. My name is Emily Carter, and 3 months ago, I stood inside St. Aldwyn's Church, staring into the smirking face of Father Dominic Heroa, man adored by the community, praised in newspapers, and even blessed by the bishop himself. But I could see something no one else could. I could see his evil. I didn't need proof. I didn't need a confession. I had something far more powerful, an ability I've kept hidden my entire life. And if you stay until the end, you'll hear the exact moment when the man who laughed in my face finally crumbled, when the truth he'd buried for decades ripped his world apart. But before I tell you what happened inside that church, I need you to do one thing: hit subscribe right now, because I promise you, the story you're about to hear will make you question every smiling face you've ever trusted. The gift and the curse. I wasn't born with the ability to read minds. It wasn't like some cheap magic trick where I could pluck thoughts out of thin air. What I could see was different. Whenever I looked into someone's eyes, I could glimpse the worst thing they'd ever done. Not every detail, not every moment, just a flash, like a burning photograph seared into my brain. Most of the time, it was harmless little lies, petty theft, minor betrayals. But sometimes it was monstrous. I first discovered this when I was 7. My mother's friend came over for coffee, smiling sweetly as she handed me a cookie. But when I looked at her, I saw a terrified child, locked in a basement. It made no sense then, but 2 years later, that woman was arrested for kidnapping. My mother called it coincidence. I knew it wasn't. Over the years, I learned to control it. I avoided eye contact. I stopped asking questions I didn't want answers to. But everything changed when my sister Anna disappeared. She'd been volunteering at St. Aldwyn's, working closely with Father Dominic on charity projects. When she vanished, the police claimed she'd run away. But I knew Anna. She wouldn't leave me, not without saying goodbye. 3 weeks after she went missing, I went to the church to confront him. That's when it happened, the moment that started this whole nightmare. I walked into his office, and he looked up at me with that benevolent smile, the one everyone in town swore was pure kindness. But when our eyes met, I saw it. Anna, her face pale, her lips trembling, her wrists bound, and behind her, Father Dominic, his hand gripping her shoulder, his other holding a rosary, like it was some holy shield. The vision burned in my mind, and I knew instantly he'd taken her. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse him. Instead, I played along, listened to his charming words, his hollow condolences, his lie about how much he missed her. But I swore to myself I'd expose him, no matter what it cost. The investigation, I started digging. Every volunteer who worked with him had glowing things to say. Every parent trusted him with their children. Every file I accessed through my job at the local paper painted him as a saint. But the deeper I dug, the more cracks I found. 3 girls had vanished from towns near St. Aldwyn's over the past 15 years. None were ever found. All were last seen at events Father Dominic attended. The police reports were strange, sloppy interviews, missing witness statements, evidence misplaced. It was almost as if someone was protecting him. I knew I couldn't go to the authorities. They'd dismiss me as paranoid. So I went to the only person who'd believe me, my old friend Daniel, a photojournalist who'd been fired for exposing corruption in the mayor's office. He listened quietly as I told him everything, and when I finished, he didn't laugh or roll his eyes. He just asked, "What's our plan?" For the next month, we followed Dominic. We found nothing: no suspicious trips, no strange visitors, no signs of a double life. It was maddening. But then, one rainy night, we saw him leave the church, after midnight. He drove to a rundown farmhouse, 10 miles out of town. We watched from a distance as he unlocked a heavy chain on the door and disappeared inside. When he emerged 20 minutes later, he was carrying a small wooden chest. The next morning, we returned to the farmhouse. The inside was abandoned for one thing. In the corner, under a tarp, we found a box of rosaries, each with a name etched into the metal cross. Anna's was there. My hands shook as I held it, the beads warm like they'd been touched recently. Daniel took photos, but we both knew it wasn't enough. Without proof of the girls, the chest was just a strange keepsake. That's when I made my decision. If Dominic wouldn't expose himself, I'd force him to the confrontation the following Sunday. The church was full. It was the annual fundraising mass, the one broadcast online for parishioners across the state. I waited until the final hymn ended. Then I stood up, walked straight down the aisle, and climbed the steps to the altar. Dominic froze, mid-blessing, his hand hovering over the chalice. "Father," I said, my voice carrying through the speakers, "I can see your evil." A ripple of confusion spread through the congregation. Dominic laughed. "My child," he said warmly, "we all have sin in our hearts, but the Lord forgives." I stepped closer until we were inches apart. "The Lord might forgive you," I whispered, "but Anna won't." His smile faltered. The camera zoomed in on his face. Every screen in the hall showed the exact moment he realized I knew. I pulled the rosary from my pocket and held it high. "Where is she?" I demanded. His eyes darted to the side, then back to me. And that's when I saw it, not the vision, but real, raw panic. I didn't wait for him to speak. "Check the farmhouse on Hollow Creek Road," I told the audience, my voice steady. "You'll find the truth he's been hiding for years." The room erupted into chaos. Parishioners shouted. Ushers tried to pull me away, but it was too late. Daniel's photos had already been uploaded. Within hours, police swarmed the farmhouse. They found more than I could have imagined: clothes, personal items, and in the cellar, the remains of 3 girls. One was Anna. Father Dominic was arrested live on the evening news. When they let him out in handcuffs, he didn't smirk. He didn't laugh. He just stared at me like I'd ripped the mask off his soul. And in a way, I had. People call me brave. They say I brought justice. But when I close my eyes at night, I still see Anna. I still hear his laugh. And I know that for every evil I've exposed, there's another out there, smiling, waiting for someone like me to see them. So if you take anything from this story, take this: evil rarely looks like a monster. Sometimes it looks like the man who blesses your children, and sometimes it laughs until you make it stop.